Hey guys, don't know if the stream is working. Don't know if anyone can hear me or is tuning in, but I figured I'd go live. Um, this is kind of a weird reason to go live, but the truth is I had been looking to put out more content for this channel for my podcast anyway, and ironically, hearing the news today about Jason David Frank passing away, which is ironic because, a couple of years ago, I started doing some Power Ranger related content, especially once I found out, about the movie that came out in 2017. That kind of led me to rediscover this show that I watched as a kid and kind of appreciate it on a whole new level now, and just being curious about what it was like behind the scenes and what the fandom is now that you have a bunch of people my age and younger who watch the show and are grown adults now and go to conventions and all kinds of things. Like, they have their own conventions and stuff, which is wild. Like, 30 years on, like, the show is it really resonated with a lot of people, and I definitely understand why. And because I was one of those kids growing up. But that's not all I wanted to talk about while I was on here. I had meant to say, or at least to make a comment about the passing of the great Kevin Conroy, who for almost the same amount of time, coming up on 30 years, was really considered to be the definitive voice of Batman. Kevin Conroy was a fantastic actor. Mainly known as being a voice actor, but he was also he was trained at Juilliard. Did a lot of work on the Broadway stage, and this guy, he was a real, like, actor's actor, and he brought so much to the role of Batman. I mean, I look at Batman the animated series from the 90s. Many people would argue is one of the best representations of that character in any medium, comics included. Like, it was incredible. It still holds up wonderfully. And he passed away, I want to say 2 weeks ago. He had cancer, and I don't know if many people really knew about it outside of his personal circle, but it's certainly a shame. I mean, 66 is still pretty young to go. Nobody really saw that coming, and his performance as Batman meant so much to so many people. Excuse me. And just it's a huge loss, really. I mean, he was had so many incredible performances as Batman, really brought so much grounding to the character, and was one of the reasons why the Batman in the animated series and all its various spin-offs, the new Batman Adventures, Superman the animated series, Justice League Unlimited, and all the other various projects that he was a part of, not just in animated series, but also video games and just various other projects he did. He even appeared as a live action version of Bruce Wayne on an episode of the CW's Batwoman a couple years ago. So it's like he kind of, in a way, he got to do it all. So that it was pretty cool to see him come back to the role time and time again, for so many years. What's up, Marco? How you doing, buddy? Yeah, absolutely. Batman Arkham City and some of the other Arkham games. Kevin Conroy was in that, and of course he crushed it in that, and it made all the sense in the world. I mean, opposite Mark Hamill, who was as well known for playing the Joker, and oh geez, what else did he play? I'm kidding. You all know what Mark Hamill played, but it's just a tremendous loss, really, in the world of comic book fandom. Certainly is to say goodbye to Kevin Conroy, and he also dabbled in writing as well. I wasn't aware of the man's personal life at all. I didn't really know this about him, but apparently it was either a year or two ago for Pride Month. He had contributed a sort of he wrote this like semi autobiographical comic about about sort of his experiences as a closeted gay man throughout the years. I had no idea that he was gay. I didn't know anything about his personal life. Didn't care. Obviously, still don't. But apparently, from what I understand, he had written something to the effect of how playing a character like Batman over the years sort of inspired him to come out and to be honest about who he was. And that says a lot, especially to to take inspiration from this character that he played for so many years and apply that to something that he felt was holding him back in his real life, and it inspired him to be brave and to be honest about who he was. Is it's that's a powerful statement to have, and that just goes to show you how much Kevin Conroy resonated with people, and what an incredible actor and a human being he was. The thing about Kevin Conroy that really I think impressed me more than anything he did in terms of his work, and his work was outstanding, no doubt, but it's but more so than just being a great voice actor and just being just being a memorable actor, is that I remember years ago hearing his appearance on Kevin Smith's podcast called Fat Man on Batman, where he was telling Kevin Smith about his life. And one of the things he did that I will have the most admiration for was what he did during the September 11th attacks in 2001. From what I understand, according to his story, Kevin Conroy went and he lived in New York for many years, and he had volunteered to help out with with firefighters and first responders during that time in the aftermath of the attacks. And he would go there and didn't really publicize it for free, and and a lot of people ended up doing that. A lot of people volunteered their time to help with the firefighters and the EMTs and the police, and everyone was working. And supposedly he would go there, and people didn't recognize him. They didn't know what he was, but he would occasionally do the voice. He'd be like, "I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman." And people would be like, "Oh man, he's Batman." So it's, that was his claim to fame, obviously. So I think, yeah, I mean, being a great actor is one thing, but being doing an active service like that to help out your fellow man, I think is really shows what kind of character you have. And it sounds like, by all accounts, you never heard anyone say a bad word about the guy. It sounded like Kevin Conroy was a fantastic human being. So it's it's a shame. It's, you felt like he had a few more years in him. 66 is still pretty young to go, but obviously rest in peace to his family and friends. Moving on to something I found out about more recently today, and was one of the reasons why I wanted to put this video out, not just because it was him that this happened to, but also the circumstances of what led to this. And I'm talking, of course, about the passing of Jason David Frank. Jason David Frank, for those of you who don't know, world famous martial artist and actor, obviously known for being part of the Power Rangers franchise. He was the original Green Ranger. He played a character named Tommy Oliver, who ended up being sort of the breakout character. He was the breakout character of the show. Like, he wasn't part of the original 5. He joined the cast a little bit later in season 1, and ended up becoming the most popular character. He was he ended up becoming the longest serving of Power Ranger character in the show's 30-year history. He was there for many years, and so obviously that was the role that defined him, being Tommy Oliver. And that, like I said, that was a show that I watched. Yes, let's see. Yeah, my buddy Marco is here in the chat here. Marco, if you want to get in on this stream as well, feel free to let me know. I can invite you into the chat if you'd like to say a few things. But before you do that, I do want to say a few things. Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, I had watched that show when I was about 9 years old when it first came out. So I was like right in that sweet spot where I was really into it. Like, really nobody had ever seen a TV show like that in the United States. And yeah, no one had really ever seen anything like that in this country before. It was, most of the time you'd see something like that, it would be animated. This was live action. So, and it was teenagers. So like it had this weird mix of like Saved by the Bell, and it was like Saved by the Bell on steroids, basically, is what Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was. And it became just this cultural phenomenon for a hot minute there in the 90s. Like, it was the number one toy that everyone wanted to have, and I was one of those kids who got swept up in it. I want to say by the end of season 2, I was like getting older, and I was like, this isn't really for me anymore. Plus, it really wasn't cool anymore at that point at school, so I had kind of dropped it. But you look at things like that and the Ninja Turtles as like a way that so many people, so many kids, of my generation, probably that inspired them to get into martial arts and learn how to defend themselves. Like I said, like, not many people had seen too many things like that on American television before, on kids television. So it was definitely groundbreaking for the time. Jason David Frank and his character Tommy Oliver, I would not say he was my favorite on the show. And what I meant by that, I was a fan of Jason the Red Ranger, who was the original star of the show, portrayed by Austin St. John, who I actually had the pleasure of meeting about a year ago at an autograph signing. Really cool guy. Yeah, I was a Jason / Austin St. John fan, really, when that came out. So like there was a little bit of a division there in the fan base for a second, and Tommy was no doubt the most popular character to come out of that show. But in recent years, I had found out what was really going on behind the scenes, and from what I understand, those two, even though they played best friends on the show, they did not get along. Those two actors, but by that I mean Austin St. John and Jason David Frank. It was one of those things. After hearing, for a while there, I had heard JDF, Jason David Frank, like he would badmouth Austin St. John pretty badly, like publicly in interviews over the years. From when they were on the convention circuit. From what I understood, they refused to appear together at conventions. Like it was pretty ugly there for a while. I imagine there were a lot of reasons behind it. A lot of it had, those guys were both very young on the show when they first got together. I can imagine for Austin St. John, it was probably tough to see this new guy come in and become super popular, on this show that you helped build in terms of popularity. And this guy comes in and he's incredibly popular and, almost taking your spot in a sense. And especially when you're a young guy and you don't really understand what's going on. Like both these two alpha males probably got really competitive and butted heads. These things happen. And from what I understand, it got pretty ugly there for a while. I know when Austin St. John and two of the other actors left the show midway through season 2, it was about the money they were making on the show. By that time, the show was earning billions of dollars, like billions, and the actors on that show were being paid like less than what you'd make for a McDonald's drive-through. They were not like, none of these actors and the people on the show were part of SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, any of the unions. So Saban was not paying them well, and that's from what I understand, that's been a practice that's continued for years to this day on the show. So I know Austin St. John and Thuy Trang, who is Trini, the Yellow Ranger, who unfortunately she passed away in 2001 in a car accident. That was a really sad story. The two of them and Walter Jones, who was Zach, the Black Ranger. The three of them had left the show from what I understand in interviews, and you can quote me on this, I can provide different interviews that I've heard and different articles and whatnot, that the three of them were trying to get the rest of the cast to stand together, sort of in solidarity, kind of like what you've seen this happen on shows like Friends or The Big Bang Theory, where the main cast will get together and be like, sort of negotiate the terms of their deal. They'll be like, okay, you have to pay us X amount of money or we walk off the show. And I think I think that had a lot to do with the rift between Austin St. John and Jason David Frank, because, supposedly, according to Austin St. John, Jason David Frank, quote, stabbed him in the back and maybe got in the ear of Amy Jo Johnson and David Yost. And the three of them decided to stay on the show while the other three decided to split. And I mean, look, I don't know what happened. There's been a lot that's been said. Like I mentioned, Jason David Frank had bad mouthed Austin St. John for years on interviews, and for the most part, Austin St. John didn't really say anything. Part of which was because he was in Afghanistan for 4 years. I mean, after the show, Austin St. John was a legitimate, firefighter and EMT, and served as a medic in Afghanistan for many years. I think with the Marine Corps. I'm not sure with who else, but so in a lot of ways he couldn't really defend himself. So, and for the most part, he didn't really say anything. It wasn't really until recent years where he started to kind of unload on Jason David Frank and sort of spill the tea a little bit, and even in so much so that in recent years, it feels like it's kind of flipped, where it's like Jason David Frank has been trying to take the high road, but Austin St. John was still kind of bad mouthing him. It was just a whole back and forth, and I imagine it really divided the fan base there for Power Rangers fans, but. These things happen, and I know in the last 24 hours or so, Austin St. John has posted his condolences and all that stuff. So it's a shame those two guys were never able to officially bury the hatchet. I think it would have been a good thing to do for the both of them. I mean, look, holding on to a grudge is life is too short for that, and I've been there before. I know what it's like to be in a bad, to have a bad falling out with someone or someone you work with, or someone who used to be a friend. It sucks when those things happen, and there's a real beef there. I'd like to think I've tried to do what I can over the years to sort of make things right, with areas in my life. But it's a shame that those two guys never really got to officially bury the hatchet. But even all these years later. So I don't know what's going on with that. But, more importantly than all the Power Ranger stuff and everything that goes on behind the scenes, from what I understand, and I realize this is still relatively new. Details are still going to come out. Details are still coming out about this. But from what I understand, Jason David Frank committed suicide. I don't know why. I can only speculate that from what I understand, one of his kids had passed away a year before, either a daughter or a stepdaughter. I don't know that for sure. Please don't quote me on it. I know that he and his wife were going through a divorce this year. From what I understand, according to reports, apparently she busted him, cheating on her with another woman. I don't really know the full story. I don't want to speculate. This is all alleged. So I don't want to talk out of school here, but that's from what I understand was what happened. That's a tough thing to go through. I never really suspected the guy to be depressed or to have issues like that, but you just never know what people are going through. You really don't. And I think that more than anything else was why I wanted to say something about it. More than, this is about more than just a famous actor or someone from my childhood who died. I mean, look, people die every day. It's a part of life. Kevin Conroy passing away from cancer at age 66 is one thing. A 49-year-old man taking his own life is another. And my heart just goes out to his family. He had 4 children. I can't imagine what that's like, to get so low that actually, no, I'm lying. I can't imagine what that's like because I've been there. And I'm not trying to make this about me, by the way, but I just want to make a point that when it comes to suicide and when it comes to depression, you never know what people are going through. Everyone is fighting their own battles. That's not just that's not just an empty platitude or anything. It's the truth. It's, I know what it's like to feel helpless and hopeless. I've had periods in my life where, not only could I not get out of bed, but I had really considered ending it all. Those were feelings that didn't last for a long time, but when you get to that state of mind, you have to realize you're not thinking rationally. Anytime you think that life isn't worth it, or that maybe the people you love would be better off without you, it's a lie. And I know that because I have felt that way at times before in my life, both when I was young, sometimes a little more recently. And I'll just leave it at that. Mental health is a real thing, and it's not just a catchphrase or a buzzword that's going out right now. A lot of people talk about mental health, and as they should, but I think that's more than anything else why I wanted to say something about it. This isn't about just, people from my childhood who have left us. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's part of life, unfortunately, but this, to go out this way, to make the decision to end your own life, it's, that makes it all the more heartbreaking. And, it feels a little shallow in a way talking about celebrities, because look, these are people that I never knew personally. These are people that I imagine many of you never knew personally. But, I mean, when you admire someone's work, or when you see them on TV or in the movies or whatever it is, you feel like you know them in a way. And which sounds kind of superficial, I know, but it's, those things do affect you, I think, a little bit, because you go through experiences, and, that person's work might be a part of, your life experience in a way. And that's, that's not something to be taken lightly. And I understand why people react the way they do, certainly. And look, I haven't always been the biggest fan of Jason David Frank as a person, based on the things I had heard about him. But for all the negative things I had heard about him, or all the interviews of his that I've seen that maybe rubbed me the wrong way at different points, I mean, the guy, I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, but there would be times where I would hear him talk and think like, man, this guy's a little cocky, or he kind of believes his own hype there for a minute. But, for all the times I would think that, I would also hear other things that he would say, or I would hear other people talk about him that made me think, you know what, by most accounts, this guy seems like he was a pretty good guy. People loved him, and there's a reason for that. From what I understand, he was always great to his fans. I heard nothing but real positive experiences from people who would meet him at conventions. Yeah, I mean, I imagine there are a lot of people who are shedding tears a little bit, and I don't blame anyone for for grieving however however they feel they need to. It's just heartbreaking. This guy was a husband and a father, and you hate to hear that for anyone. Let alone being a role model for millions of kids, or millions of kids who are now adults. But I'm trying to think where I was going with this. But like I was saying, for any negative things I had heard, or vibes I had gotten from Jason David Frank, the guy, I would hear like the positive definitely outweighed the negative. And especially in recent years, it seemed like he was sort of taking the high road when it came to stuff going on with Austin, or whatever controversies he was involved with. I mean, I don't know what happened with him and his wife. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to talk out of school here. I don't want to speculate on whatever happened. I had heard things, but you just never know what people are going through behind closed doors. And people say it a lot, but it's true. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. No matter what it is you're going through there, no matter what it is you're going through in life, whether you feel like you're hopeless, or you feel like things can't get better. If you're listening to my voice, or seeing me right now, whoever you are, talk to somebody about it. Talk to somebody you can trust, or someone who does this professionally, because it's not a good idea. No matter who you are out there, chances are there's someone out there who loves you and who cares about you, and who wishes, who does not want you to leave this world. I'd bet that there's someone out there right now. And especially if you got kids, man. I've got 2 of them right now, and I couldn't imagine leaving them for any reason. But you just never know what people are going through. By all means, talk to somebody. Pray on it if you are so inclined, because I do believe that there is a God who loves you. I do. And some people might smirk at that a little bit, but I believe it. And from what I understand, Jason David Frank was a religious guy too. When his brother Eric passed away at a young age in 2001, still don't know the circumstances behind that. It was never really said what happened to Eric Frank back in 2001, but from what I understand, that sort of inspired him to become a Christian. And so that goes to show you, he must have been going through some dark stuff lately. So that makes it all the more heartbreaking. Yeah. Sure. Derpy 501st. Thank you for checking in. Yeah, Jason David Frank is the GOAT of Power Rangers for sure. But if this was Amy Jo, I'd probably be more of an emotional wreck right now. Well, yeah, we all. I think most guys of a certain age fell in love with Amy Jo Johnson, the Pink Ranger, and for most of us, she was the reason why we found out. Oh yeah, I do like girls. So, I see what you mean, but that was the word that I'd seen something about that earlier this summer, that there was some infidelity on with his marriage. I don't know the full story. I don't want to speculate. Or right now is, honestly, it's not really the time to go there. It's but I mean, it does shed some light on maybe why he was in the state that he was in, and why he decided to take his own life. If all the reports are to be believed. So, yeah, no worries, dude. I mean, it's, again, we're all speculating here, so it's perfectly normal to think about that. I'm married myself. Like I've been married for 8 years, and it's not always easy. It can be tough, and so it's not easy to do that. So I'm in no position to judge anyone else's relationships, but you just never know what people are going through behind closed doors. And Yeah, it's a terrible thing. I mean, regardless of how you felt about the guy personally, or yeah, but like I said, by most accounts, he seemed like a pretty good guy. So um, yeah, so that's why I wanted to say a few things about him and Kevin Conroy. Really, it's ironic. Both of these guys were known for me. Um, oh, good question. I honestly don't know. I don't know what form of Christianity, what type of Christian he was, or what denomination or whatever. It's just, from what I understand, he was a religious guy, and I think he had a tattoo on his arm that said "Jesus didn't tap," which I think was like a clothing line that he put out or something. Some sort of MMA reference there. So I don't know. So I mean, read into that whatever you will, but it's I guess my point is that Jason David Frank and Kevin Conroy, there are some similarities there. I mean, definitely not in terms of how their lives ended, but in terms of both of those guys were known for things that for TV shows that came out at around the same time, like around 1992 to 93. Both of them, ironically, on the Fox network in the United States, on the Fox Kids, um, you know, programming block. So both shows were pretty big parts of my childhood and for a lot of people's childhood as well. So it's it's ironic that within the first few weeks, both of them end up passing away. Albeit for very different reasons. So I thought it was interesting to bring that up and to just to sort of talk to you guys, because I feel like I don't do these live streams as often as I'd like. And weirdly enough, I was looking to do some more Batman related content here on my show and here on my podcast, and I was looking to do some more Power Rangers content as well. If you guys, those of you guys on YouTube know that I've got a playlist of like Power Ranger stuff that I've done, which is which is funny. Like, look, I've had a lot of fun with the show, sort of making fun of it. The show was campy, it was low budget, it was goofy, and definitely unintentionally hilarious as an adult to watch. But I I've got all the respect in the world for the actors who were on that show. They were very talented. Everyone worked really hard, and yeah. So I mean that's all you got to say about that. And even more so than losing famous actors, these guys were human beings, and they had families, and they had people who loved them. And it's a shame when you lose someone too young. And 49 is way too young to go. um and it's even more infuriating. Sorry, I can get the words out, I can speak English. It's even more infuriating when it's something as preventable as suicide. I look at other celebrities who we've lost because they've taken their own life. Robin Williams, Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell. And it's just, you want to, if they were here, you'd almost want to like grab them and shake them and just be like, and just be angry. Like, you should still be here. Like, it's just not right. Especially, guys with families and with kids, and, but like I said, I mean, because people in their right mind would not make that sort of decision. And that's the thing, man. People who make those decisions are not in their right mind. They need help. They need someone to talk to. And it's a shame that, JDF and the other guys that I mentioned, I guess didn't get the help that they needed. And now they're going. Yeah, man. Heath Ledger. There's another one, a guy who went way too soon. I don't think he committed suicide necessarily, but certainly, certainly did some things that he shouldn't have been doing, and it caught up to him. Derpy 501st. I don't know if you and I have met, by the way, Derpy 501st. I don't recognize the handle, but how many seasons of Power Rangers did I get into? Well, I saw the first two seasons when they were first run back in 93 and 94. I think by the middle of season 2, when when Austin St. John and Twee Trang and Walter Jones had left the show, I was like kind of starting to lose interest because Jason the Red Ranger, that was my guy. Like that was my main guy. And when he left, it it became the Tommy show. You know what I mean? Okay, so you are new here, Derpy 501st. Well, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate that. Yeah, it became all about Jason David Frank's character. It became the Tommy show, basically. And look, that's not JDF's fault. I don't blame him for that. But that kind of turned me off to the show as a kid. And also I was starting to get older, starting to age out of it for a while. And certainly, it was not the cool thing to like when you're in, 4th and 5th grade. So that's, or no, I would have been, how old would I have been back then? I probably would have been 3rd grade, maybe going into 4th. But like either way, it was like by the time you got to a certain age, it was not the cool thing to watch. So that was part of it. And, kids age out of stuff like that all the time. I did, however, kind of come back when in season 4, when I heard that Austin St. John was coming back as Jason, but he was the Gold Ranger this time. So it was kind of a role reversal with Jason and Tommy, where Tommy was the Red Ranger and Jason was the guy who got to come in and have the cool new suit and was like supposed to be the new guy. So it was kind of a role reversal there. And every now and then I'd flip through channels and be like, all right, what are these guys up to? Let me see what the Power Rangers are up to. And I would see that. And I'm like, oh crap, Austin St. John's back. That's rad. So, and the Zeo Gold Ranger was definitely my favorite suit out of all of them. And, yeah, man, it's funny. MMPR is on Netflix right now. I got a buddy of mine who said that like his kids watch it all the time. So it's funny, man, how it kind of comes back around, and like you have like young kids now who are kind of getting into the old show. And I have seen Turbo. I'll leave it at that. I've actually since then I've gone and watched some of the other seasons, and it's funny. Like I watch these shows and to kind of look at them through adult eyes, and it's like it makes for some. It's yeah, it's unintentionally hilarious, and I want to do more reviews here on the channel just to kind of break them down logically, through adult eyes, and it's with some of my buddies. I've done a few episodes of it before, and it's a lot of fun. And I don't know if anyone else gets a laugh at them, but it it makes me laugh looking at them. So hopefully other people find it entertaining as well. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. Turbo was the drizzling shits. But what are you gonna do? It's but yeah, and also from what I understand, according to Austin St. John, when he came back for Zeo and Forever Red, Jason David Frank wasn't particularly nice to him when he came back. So, that was one of the things that kind of turned me off to JDF when I would hear things like that. But like I said, for every bit of like bad news that I would hear a lot more good news about the guy. And it's a shame that he's gone. And it's a shame that those two guys, from what I understand, never really got to patch things up. So, I think it would have meant a lot to the fans. I think it would have been good for both of them personally to let go of, that vendetta. And, especially all these years later, like, you guys are grown men, life is too short for that sort of thing. But yeah, rest in peace, Jason David Frank. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. It's a shame when these things happen, when even though they're total strangers to us, some of these people's work, it affects us as fans and as, people who are lovers of pop culture. These guys definitely left their mark. And Yes, I had heard about that, and that's going to be pretty wild. Maybe who knows? Maybe I'll do a podcast about that if and when that comes out. If and when I decided to check that out, we'll see. Like I said, I'm not a diehard Ranger fan. I know there are a lot of diehard Ranger fans out there who love it. So God bless you guys for tuning in. I appreciate that as well. So I hope I don't say anything that offends too many people here. I'm just giving sort of my opinion, and hopefully people understand that. But if you've tuned in for this long, I appreciate you guys listening to me talk for a little bit, and I hope you guys continue to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm hoping to do more content in in the next few months. So when it comes to stuff like this, just checking in with you guys one on one is a cool thing to do. I'd like to do more things, like not just one on one interviews, which is the majority of what I do on this show, but also some movie reviews and TV reviews. Whether it's Batman or Power Rangers or any of these other things that come out, whether it's something I've seen before, whether it's something I've not seen before. These are other things I want to do. I'd also like to do album reviews, music stuff, and or maybe cover current pop culture events and just kind of give my take on them and that sort of thing, and hopefully have some new content from my band Vertebreaker out. So hopefully you guys would dig that. All right, Derpy 501st, great name, by the way. He's got one last question. Go for it, bro. What's your last question? I know he's got something. Just gonna wait patiently. You guys are tuning in. It's fine. He and Marco are here at least. So. Yes, I did see the 2017 Power Rangers movie reboot. And once I heard that they were making that kind of inspired me to go back and sort of rediscover the show, and as an adult, and and appreciate it on that level. And again, being a kid who got into karate because of like the Ninja Turtles and to a lesser extent Power Rangers, but I mean they were an influence in that. So I wanted to go and check it out. And I thought it was a good movie. There are things that I would have done a little bit differently if it were me rewriting it, which coincidentally, as when it comes to content on the channel, I had been thinking about doing some what I call pitch meetings on here. Not to be confused with the channel pitch meetings. I meant like I've always had ideas about creative writing and what I would do if I was writing a script. Because I'm not a screenwriter, but I'm a fan of movies and TV. And I always thought like, all right, well, if I was the one making a decision for a particular character or a particular franchise, like what would I do differently or the same for it? So like, I definitely want to do one of these days. Like if I were to pitch a reboot of Power Rangers, how would I do it? And that's certainly another discussion for another time. But getting back to the 2017 movie, I liked it. I thought, I thought it was a pretty good movie. There were, like I said, there are things I would have done differently with it. It could have been a lot better than it was, in my opinion. I feel like the third act of it kind of fell apart. I felt like tonally it was sort of all over the place. I agree. It was good for the audience it targeted. It took it, there were parts of it where it felt, much more serious than the original show was. But there were also places where it's like they tried to throw in some comedy that didn't quite land, in my opinion. I felt like the third act was kind of where it sort of slid back into what the show is. And it's a shame that, it's a shame that it never got picked up for a sequel, because I felt like there was a lot of potential there still. I feel like they could have done a lot with that version of the characters. But, once Hasbro bought the franchise, they decided to go in a different direction. And we'll have to see if and when they put a new movie out, or what they do with it. Um, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, I did a review episode on that on that one a couple years ago. I wouldn't mind revisiting it a little bit, but yeah, there were a few things that I wish they would have done differently. Maybe all the actors were great in it. Um, everyone was really trying hard. And the script wasn't bad. There were some really great moments in it. There were some moments that it kind of fell apart a little bit, and they just weren't sure what to do with it. So, but that happens. And could it have been? Could you have gotten some really good sequels out of it? Yeah, but it didn't happen, and it just wasn't meant to be. So they just kind of moved on. By the way, I'm not going gray. By the way, it's the lighting in here. So just for the record, no one was thinking of that, by the way, but I noticed it because I'm looking at myself right now. I'm like, oh, you're looking too gray. Like, I don't have that much gray hair. I really don't. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in for sure. And yeah, just kind of hopefully anything I've said has if any of you were listening to this or were feeling a little sad about what was going on, hopefully this has been a little helpful for you guys. I don't know if it has. Hopefully it's been entertaining, or you've gotten to, hopefully I haven't been too boring for you, because it's just been me talking for 45 minutes just by myself. So hopefully I haven't rambled too much for you. I'm not used to doing these things live. I'm used to editing and making myself sound much more coherent than I actually am. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at jackxconnor, as you see in the in the handle there. And stay tuned for more content, man. I've got a lot going on. In less than a month. Oh, I am not going bald. You shut your mouth. Yeah, I mean, I've got, I'm 38. That's a mature hairline. I've still got my hair for 38. So I'm not doing too bad. This is all real. Okay. Oh, give me a break. Brutal. All right. But yeah, as I was saying, I've got a lot going on in my life right now. All this weekend I was watching my kids while my wife was out of town, so I've been pretty busy. But in a few weeks, my band, I sing in a rock band, Vertebraker, for those of you who don't know. And we are going, we're based in Orlando, Florida, but we're going to the Whiskey A Go-Go in Los Angeles on December 9th. We're going to play a show at the Whiskey A Go-Go with Earshot and Boy Hits Car. This is a story that I will tell. I will give a lot more details on it, especially when it's over, about how it came about. But that's an opportunity that I never thought I was going to have, and I'm really excited about that, to play at arguably the most famous rock club on the planet. I can't think of too many others. Maybe CBGB's in New York, but that's no longer there. So that's like Mecca when it comes to being in a hard rock band, is going there and playing on the Sunset Strip. Like that's pretty rad. Like, I've never made it big and famous as a musician, but like to have an accomplishment like that is something that I'm always going to be able to tell. I'm going to be able to tell my kids and their kids one day that, yeah, I got to do that. So I'm pretty proud of that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll definitely have, hopefully in 2023, we'll have some more Vertebraker content out there. We'll be, we've had some new members coming in and out the last year or so. So it's been a little slow going as far as writing new material, but we're working on that. And hopefully this time next year, we'll have some new music out. Fingers crossed. We'll see. I said that last year, and I thought it would have been out by now, but life is what happens to you while you're busy making plans. I think it was John Lennon who said that. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's where we're at right now. So stay tuned for that. I'll have all my links in the in the description after I post this. So it's thank you guys for tuning in live or tuning in whenever it is you're seeing this. And just let's everyone be a little nicer to each other out there. Don't be afraid to get help if you need it, or to talk to somebody if you feel like you don't have anyone else to talk to. And that's it. And don't be too sad, because if you're lucky enough to be an actor or a musician, or to create something that people are going to remember years from now, years after you're gone, then that's a pretty special thing. And that's something you could definitely say about guys like Kevin Conroy and Jason David Frank and a lot of other people. So if you're lucky enough to do something like that people are going to remember, that's immortalized like that, then that's a life well lived, I think. And also, but even more so, not just the work, but also what kind of person you are outside of it. And it sounded like these two guys were pretty good guys. And it's a shame that they're not here anymore. But as fans, we'll always have their work to remember. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully this has brightened your day a little bit. I'm glad to have caught up with you guys. And just take care of yourselves. All right. For the Phoenix Report, I'm Jack Connor. I'll see you later. Rock on.